The Redemption of Babel, a devotional for the season of Lent, produced by Northside Church. Wednesday, March 8th. Our scripture passage today comes from Isaiah 58, verses 6 through 8 and verse 11.
Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke. Is it not to share your food with the hungry, and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see them naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land, and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail.
The mark of a redeemed people is hospitality, to neighbor and stranger, friend and enemy. Such a people are a vineyard of faithfulness, an orchard of generosity, and a garden of God's grace. But do I belong in such a vineyard? Are my roots in such an orchard? Are we, as a church, firmly rooted in this garden? Or are we closer to being a city of control, caring for our own concerns above all others? Even after the lessons learned through stories like those of Sodom and Gomorrah, the people of Israel continue to think of themselves as a garden of God's favor. But, as Isaiah proclaims in our passage today, they were little more than the latest version of those fallen cities. Like any city, they had practices and services that are designed to keep chaos at bay. And like any city, these practices and services sometimes fail. The water doesn't work, the lights don't come on, the trash doesn't get collected, and for Israel, their fasting and prayers were going unanswered by God. The chaos they had fought so hard to control crept back in through the cracks in the wall. And yet, tucked safely behind the walls they built, they convinced themselves that they were a holy city. But these practices and services, designed to serve themselves, were not the ones God had chosen. Rather, as a God of radical hospitality, God expected the same practice from them.
Freeing the oppressed, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter.
If they didn't do all that, then nothing else they did, whether in worship or sacrifice, had any interest to God whatsoever. So when I look at my own life, can I truly say I am planted in the vineyard of faithfulness? Or have I cowered behind the walls of myself, secure in the city of my own heart? I pray and I worship, I sing and I read scripture, but are these practices and services designed solely for myself? Have I practiced the hospitality that gives all these other practices their life and meaning? I confess, I don't think I have nearly enough. And have we together, as a church, become the well-watered garden, like
a spring whose waters never fail,
that Isaiah tells us is the mark of a hospitable people? And if we are not this people of hospitality, can we truly call ourselves redeemed?